Namaste, everyone. Hopefully, you can hear me clearly. So, today is the second Sunday of July, so we have our regular monthly seminar. And today's conversation is about factors governing food digestion and importance of attitude towards food. Many of you, as you know, always think in terms of this food has this nutritive aspect and things like that. And from the traditional medicine aspect of Ayurveda and yogic aspect, it is not what you eat alone that matters. What also matters is how you eat. And so this is the point of discussion today. And we have Dr. Parthasarathi from Coimbatore, who has been, he's an Ayurvedic practitioner, and he has been a prolific speaker in aspects related to food and all of that, and he has been with us before too. And he will be the opening speaker over here. So he will give us an overview in as much time as he wants. We tell people no formal presentation is needed. So it could be anywhere from 10 minutes to 15 minutes. He'll give us an overview, but if it takes longer time, that is also fine. And then we have with us Brahmaramba Kautha, and Brahmaramba is a nutritionist who works with the Department of Health and Human Services, right, Brahmaramba?
Yes, at NIH.
Yeah. At NIH?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Now at NIH. I've known Brahmaramba for a long time. She used to work for the U.S. Agricultural Department and then in another area of HSS, and now she's with the National Institute of Health.
Exactly.
So she's a registered dietitian, and you will find that her approach will be more relative to modern medicine. So sometimes it is useful to understand both the yogic perspective and the modern medicine perspective. So she can be a person who can speak towards that. And any of our yogis who come later on or are now here, we can also contribute to the discussion. And this 2-hour program is designed to promote discussion. So after the first half hour or so of presentations by the lead speaker and the panelists, we can all be, you can feel free to ask any question, and we can take it forward. In this session, everybody is allowed to unmute when they want to ask a question, but please be careful that during the initial phase when the presentation is being done by the lead speaker, try to avoid interruptions. Okay? So with that as the thought, Dr. Parthasarathi, it is all yours. You can unmute yourself. If you wish to share anything, you can share screen. So that is open for everyone.
Namaste. Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity to be present here. We'll begin with a very small prayer. Guru Ganeshabhyam Namaha. Chaturmukha Samarambham Bhagavadacharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. So it's going to be like I've planned it to be a 20-25 minute discussion, and then leaving the forum open for question and answers for an hour or little over to an hour is the plan that I have. So as suggested, I wanted to keep the session quite informal and quite, it can be a dialogue oriented session also. So the topic, it's actually a wonderful topic for an Ayurveda person to talk. It's our forte, actually, I would call it, of course, yogas as well. So I would like to start the discussion from this concept of superfoods that is so much taken over, or superfood. Everyone is talking about superfoods and everyone is looking for one or the other superfoods, because we all believe that the superfoods can create some magical benefits, or we will have some magical effect by taking these superfoods. And interestingly, this superfood is not something constant everywhere, and it's not constant always. One new superfood comes and it takes over the old superfood, and we have seen so many superfoods of this kind. Even now, moringa, this moringa kire and moringa kai is something that is considered as a poor man's food in those days, back in India, even in countries where Tamil population is concentrated, like in Mauritius, Reunion Island, etc., Malaysia, etc., it's considered as a poor man's food. But now it is being considered as a superfood. So the first point that we'll have to understand is that from an Ayurveda perspective, of course, just mere taking this superfood alone or consuming the superfood will not make this dramatic changes or will not give amazing benefits because it is a superfood. Because there is a lot more than food. Food is just one aspect. And technically speaking, there are 7 more aspects. If I take a reference from Charaka Samhita, I don't want to go deep into the technicality. However, I'll just give you an outline of what are the 8 aspects as mentioned in the Shastra in Charaka Samhita. And from there, I'm going to take just one concept. From the 8 aspect, I'm going to take one concept out, one aspect out, and try to understand that one aspect in 15 minutes. And we will be having a lot of myths and confusions cleared with that one topic. So that's the plan for today. And of course, there'll be a lot of questions coming. There'll be a lot of clarifications. Maybe there might be even objections also, and it is welcome. We can clarify it any way we want. So just for the sake of, because the terminologies are a little tricky for you, I thought I can give you a small presentation. I don't intend to go more than 2 slides. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
So in Charaka Samhita, we understand this as Ashtahara Vidhi Vishesha Ayatanani, the 8 factors that are responsible for proper digestion or nourishment or all those aspects together. So the 8 aspects are Prakriti, Karana, Samyoga, Rashi, Desha, Kala, Upayoga Samstha, and Upayokta. There's no necessity to understand these terminologies. But the outline here is Prakriti is the nature of the food or food proper. So the role of food in contributing the nutritive value or giving nourishment to the body is, yes, food is one of the factors. But in the modern society, we believe that food is the only thing. Everything is around food. If we have deficiency, then the first thing that we do is we try to find a food. For example, if someone of us has protein deficiency, say we have a protein deficiency, the first thing we do is Google which food is rich in protein, and we start to take that particular food in excess. There are possibilities that when you do that, your protein deficiency can even increase. Because it is not that you alone are having a protein deficient meal or a protein deficient diet. There are so many people along with you in your family, but it is only you or only one person who is getting this deficiency. So it's not the food. There are many other factors after that. And the factors are processing, Karana. Processing, it's not the normal processing that we all are talking about, like industrialized processing, processed food. It is not that processing. Processing is a samskara. Samskara is something, any activity that can be a thermal process, or it can be even from a Shastra perspective. An old rice is a samskara. It's a processing, making a rice old. That is, after harvest, we keep the rice as such. And after it is old, when we remove the husk, it is called as old rice. People from south of India can very well relate to this. We are very particular about buying old rice. Going to the market, we ask whether it is old rice or not. So even making a rice old is a processing. Samskara. Samskaro hi guna antaradana muchyate. Processing is something that enhances or attenuates or enhances the property of the food substances. And some yoga, we all know that combinations can influence in doing some positive or negative effect to the digestive process and the giving the nutrient value. And Rashi, the quantity. We are going to focus on this quantity and so many things associated with this, which will also bring in the concept of our attitude towards food, which is going to be the core topic of discussion for today. And Desha is the location, we all know that, and Kala is a season. Upayoga Samstha are certain rules in dietetics. We'll also slightly touch those aspects, and Upayokta is the consumer or a person who consumes. So even if the food is great, if the processing is not going to be proper, it's not going to be good. Even if it is processed really well, if the combinations are not going to be right, for example, banana and yogurt, banana and buttermilk, it's a bad combination. However, banana and milk is a fine combination. So people take yogurt, like rice with yogurt or rice with buttermilk, and consume a banana along with that. So it's a bad combination. So similarly, combinations can do positive effect, or it can also do some negative things in the food. So Rashi is the quantity, as I told you. Or even if the food is great, the processing is good, and if the combinations are really good as per the principles of Ayurveda, if it is not going to be in a proper quantity, then you're not going to get the real benefit. Rather, we might even get a negative effect. So what is great about this quantity, and what is the quantity of food one should consume? When we try to understand this, we get so much of concepts, or initially we get so much of doubts. When we clarify these doubts, we get so much of concepts aligned or attached with this that will clear up so much of myths that we have with us. So, in principle, what is the quantity of food that one should consume? If we try to analyze what the quantity of food one should consume, there are certain theories that people would tell that we should have a fistful, we should consider our fist as the size or the meal size that we should consume, etc., etc. There are various theories. But we see, when we try to understand it from an Ayurveda perspective, there is one simple theory that is being told that is Ahara Matra. 1/2 of our stomach can be filled by solid food. And that is, we can divide our stomach into 4 quadrants. 2 quadrants can be dedicated for solid food. 1 quadrant can be dedicated for liquid food, and 1 quadrant can be left empty, should be left empty for the movement of Vatati doshas. So if we are not leaving the 4th quadrant empty, our digestive process is not going to be proper, and we can end up with a lot of issues. Maybe with one meal, not having an emptiness is not going to have a great negative effect. But over a period of time, when this is going to be a regular practice, we end up with a lot of issues like ama, ajirna, the present day lifestyle disorders or the non-communicable diseases. One of the primary causes is this. So solid food, half, that is 2 quadrants, liquid food, 1/4, that is the 3rd quadrant, and the 4th quadrant empty. How do we analyze this? Do we have a mechanism? Do we have a machine to analyze this? There is no necessity. There is one simple factor called tripti. Tripti is satisfaction. So if a person has tripti or a satisfaction at the end of the meal, it means that a person's 3 quadrant of a stomach, of his or her stomach is full, and 1 stomach is empty. And this is the reason why even after satisfaction, we can comfortably go in for another serving. We usually, we would have encountered this situation multiple times in our life, that we are satisfied, but still I like to have more. So there is a big difference between feeling satisfied and feeling full. So people who tend to feel full after the meal are people who tend to get all this non-communicable diseases or lifestyle disorders which are the major threat of the current era. So this satisfaction, how does one realize this satisfaction? There comes another aspect. If one has to understand what satisfaction is, there should be an aspect called tanmana bhunjita. That is, one has to be mindful in the process of eating. So being mindful in the process of eating, which means that eating process should be like it should be a meditative process. So that is why we bring in lot of other aspects into our food. The respect that we offer to our food is something really special actually. Annam Brahmedi Vyajanat. Annam is like considered as Brahman. And we offer our prayers before we start our meal. We all should be familiar. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashrita Prana Apana Samayukta Pachami Annam Chaturvidham. Prana Apana, meaning Prana, Udana, Vyana, Apana, Samana, all the 5 Vayus together. Pachami Annam Chaturvidham, the 4 types of digestion. So we are praying for this 4 types of digestion to happen. It's a shloka from Bhagavad Gita. So Lord Krishna tells, I am your Vaishvanara, I am your Agni, I am your digesting your food. I am taking care of the 4 stages of digestion of your food that is being consumed with the help of prana apana samayukta. With all vatadi doshas together, I am digesting the food. So we do this prayer before we start our food because we show our reverence to food. So if we are not having this meditative mindset, or if we are not having a connect with the eating process, then we will not be in a position to achieve what is called as satisfaction. I can give you some simple examples. We might usually go to cinema theater and we'll be sitting and having a popcorn, but we are totally engrossed in the movie, but we are not enjoying the process of eating popcorn. Rather, we are engrossed in the movie or enjoying the movie. So there we would be finishing the popcorn. We will not even realize that we have finished the popcorn, and we will not have received that satisfaction of eating a popcorn. We will be looking for more. Can I buy another packet of popcorn? Why is that happening? Because you're not having a satisfaction, because you're not connected, you're not having that mindful process of eating. There is no meditative approach to the eating process. The same happens with the feast, that we sit together, talk, too much of talking, and there will be some eating also going inside. We will finish our feast, we will be full up till our throat. We cannot eat anything more, but still we'll be looking, is there something really good that can give you satisfaction? In spite of being more than full, we are not feeling satisfied because there is no aspect of this tanmana bhunjita, or being connected with the food, or being mindful in the process of eating. So when we are not having this mindfulness in the process of eating, we are not going to know what satisfaction is. This tripti or satiety is going to be confused when we are not having a mindfulness in our process of eating. So there is one more intricacy that the Shastra tells here, that Gurunam Ardha Sauhityam. That is, if our food is heavy to digest, if it is heavy to digest food, then take half. Don't finish 3 quadrants, including the water. Stop at half. Finish only 2 quadrants, leave 2 quadrants free. Laghunam na ati truptitaha. If it is a laghu, easy to digest food, stop at trupti, don't go to ati trupti. Here, I hope this is well understood. One more aspect when it comes to tanmana bhunjita, the Shastra tells ajalpan ahasan tanmana bhunjita. Ajalpan, do not talk, do not laugh. Don't talk while eating, don't laugh while eating, and tanmana bhunjita, be connected with the food, eat as a meditative process. This is the reason why our ancestors, our forefathers used to repeatedly tell, when we are talking in the middle of our meal, they will be warning us, don't talk, respect the food. Do not talk while eating. And if someone is reading while eating, they tell, close the book, keep away, first eat, concentrate on your eating process, do everything next. So our grandparents would have always been particular with this, but over a period of time now, when we see in some other places, it's very difficult to see someone concentrated in the eating process. Rather, they have a phone in front of them or a television in front of them. So it's very difficult to see someone who's just eating. And also there are certain things explained in the Shastra, like natishtet, do not stand and eat. You have to only sit and eat. That is also a type of respect that we offer to the food. But in the current era of buffet system, the more posh the wedding reception or the function is, the more longer you have to stand in the queue or even in the process of eating. So sitting and eating is another important thing. That's an attitude that we show towards food. So along with this, maybe I'll take another 2-3 minutes just to quickly touch an aspect of water, because that's a greatest confusion that people have. There are a lot of myths around consuming water. Should I consume water during food, before food, after food? It's always a doubtful topic. And even if we give a clear-cut answer to this, people are not ready to accept it because there are a lot of confusions and preconceived notions behind it. If I should put it across with a shloka, which you might not be agreeing at the first instance, Bhojane chamritam vari, bhojanante vishapradam. Bhojane, during the meal, vari, water is amrita, bhojanante vishapradam. If you drink at the end of the meal, it is like visha, like a poison. So if you drink water at the end of the meal, is it a poison? Is it going to turn as a poison? No. That is the shloka, that's a direct meaning of it. But I'm going to make you understand the concept behind it with this chart that you're seeing in front of me. That is, you're supposed to have a food which liquid is also a part of the food. The third quadrant has to be filled by liquid. If there is no liquid component in your food, then water is a component that has to be contributed. That is, you have to have a glass of water while you are eating. It should be a mandate. Even Dharma Shastra explains that there should be water on the right side of your plate or a leaf when you drink. Dharma Shastra emphasizes that there should be water. If there is an emphasis of water being kept there, then it naturally means that we should consume water during our meal. Now, there is a theory that no, we should not touch water during our meal. We should not drink before, we should not drink after. So when should we drink? Drink 45 minutes, 2 hours before, or half an hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours later. Who will remember all this, etc.? It's a big question. Again, it's not making sense when we see it from a whole, in a holistic way or in a bigger picture. It doesn't make sense. If our food is liquid predominant, like our kanji or porridges, etc., there is no necessity to drink water in between because there is a good amount of liquid component into it. If it is not a liquid predominant food, we have to consume water along with the eating process so that the third quadrant, liquid quadrant, is satisfied. So, an example, if someone is not taking liquid during the meal, if someone is eating dosa and sambar and chutney, there is not much of liquid component into it. If I am the person, I consume 4 dosas and I am satisfied. I'm telling, as per the Shastra, I am satisfied. I have the trupti, so I am satisfied, I stop there. Okay, good. I followed the Shastra. But what happens is, I have not consumed water in the process of eating, but naturally, I will have a demand of water. I will feel thirsty within 10-15 minutes, or there will be a strong urge to drink water. Why is the urge to drink water happening? It's because there is a necessity of the water component in the process of digestion. So if I am going to drink that water after my satisfied end, with 4 dosas, which means that I have filled my 3 quadrants. If I'm going to drink water, I'm going to fill the 4th quadrant, which means that I have not left that space for the movement of Vata doshas and for the digestive process. So it's very clear that the water that I'm going to consume after my satisfactory meal is contributing to the fourth quadrant, which is going to hamper my digestive process. And hence it is explained as Bhojanante Vishapradam. End of the meal, after the meal, you consume water, it is like Visha because your digestive process is hampered. So I hope this gives you a picture of how even a quantity, say you have taken the best of the best food, say you have taken the superfood, the best superfood of the current era. You're taking, instead of filling the 3 quadrants, if you fill the 4 quadrants, you're not going to have this proper digestion process happening, and you're not going to get the complete benefits out of it. Rather, you might end up with ama, ajirana, and many of those issues. And if you're not going to follow, or if you're not going to have that respectfulness or respect in the process of eating, or the reverence to the process of eating, that also contributes directly in modifying or what do you call, camouflaging your understanding of ahara matra. Also, it has a direct influence of this ajalpan, ahasan, tanmana bhunjita, na tishtet, na vadet. These are all set of principles that one has to follow. Not following the principle, these are aptopadeshas. Not following the principles will also have its negative effect in the process of digestion and process of nourishment. So with this, I'll stop here, and I think I've made a platform ready for discussion. So any questions or doubts on this or little outside of this is also like welcome. We can have a discussion on that.
You can stop sharing then.
Yeah.
And what we will do over here is, Brahmaramba, do you want to add anything to what Dr. Parsarthi has suggested here?
Sure. I'd like to share a couple of points. Would you like me to share now or wait until later?
If the point leads from what Dr. Parsarthi has said, please do. If you don't see anything related, it's not directly related, then you can do it later. Go ahead, use your judgment. And I see Dr. Ananda from Puducherry has also joined us, so he'll probably contribute in a little while. So carry on, Brahmaramba.
Okay. I mean, should I share my slides or just so okay, that sounds good. I think I just wanted to say, I really love what Dr. Parsarthi mentioned. I think that 4 quadrants thing, it's about what we eat, how we eat, and how we eat in moderation. So that's how I connect that topic, and I also really enjoyed that example about eating popcorn in a movie. So so I can talk a little bit more. And when we talk in modern nutrition, we usually say eat in moderation, eat varieties of foods, and eat in balance. So I feel like he's covered all those points very efficiently. So thank you.
Okay, excellent. And so I see also Sanjeev ji has joined us. So Dr. Ananda, would you like to add anything over here? Please go ahead.
Namaskar. I am not too sure of my audio video, so give me a few moments and I'll be back with you.
No problem. Sanjeev ji, you want to add anything?
Ajay, I just joined because of the Wi-Fi issues. So
Okay.
regarding nutrition, I didn't.
No problem. So let me bring this up over here. Dr. Parsarthi has done an extraordinary presentation in giving us guidance on 4 factors that help towards digestion. The nature of the food, the processing of it, the combinations with which it's taken, and he paid a lot of stress on the quantity, which was the 4th element. And then, of course, it is reasonable to understand the Desha Kala, that is the location and the region, and the Kala is the season. This we are a little more familiar with. And then there were two more items on his list he had presented called Upayoga Samstha, Rules in Dietetics, and Upayukta, that is the person who consumes. On the Upayoga Samstha, rules in dietetics, Dr. Parsardi, would you like to explain a little bit more on that?
Yes. So these aspects that I mentioned about certain rules that we have to follow, na tishtet, na vadet, ajalpan, ahasan, tanmana, bhunjita, they all fall into the concept of Upayoga Samstha.
Okay. Okay, so I would like to, Dr. Parsardi, ask another question. And this question is related to, in modern day, we find so many people are having vitamin D deficiency. Would you like to comment on why this may be the reason?
Yeah. So seeing it from the perspective of Ayurveda, or seeing the bigger picture, the most controversial thing that we are facing in the current era is, we see a person who has a problem which is because of overnourishment. That is, the same person has the problems of overnourishment leading to obesity, diabetes, or some lifestyle disorders caused because of overnourishment, and the same person is suffering with deficiencies. So there is a logical mismatch or a logical clash, that a person is having a problem which is caused by overnourishment and also caused by undernourishment. Undernourishment meaning, I'm not directly calling it as an undernourishment, because but we have to accept that there is a deficiency, meaning the nutrition or the nutrient, the nutrient element did not reach the person appropriately. So this is a mismatch. If we try to analyze the mismatch, what we can conclude there is a problem of Agni, or metabolism, or transformation of the food into the energy. So we call it as Agni, or Ahara Paka, or Ahara Parinama. So here, when a substance, if we consider A as food, if the food has to be converted into energy, maybe we can consider it as C. If the person does not have a good capability to digest the food, or assimilate the food, or metabolize the food, then the A might not be converted to C. So there is a deficiency. Instead, A is converted to B, where the same person has many excesses, which includes increased triglycerides, increased maybe LDL, or increased uric acid levels, increased waist size, obesity, tendency to be diabetic, etc. So the transformation of the food, or the parinama of the food, is not happening properly because of an Agni disturbance, or the digestive disturbances, which can be which can have multiple dimensions to it. And one of the dimension is even the Ahara Matra can be a factor.
Okay. So
when we
I
see
have
the external factor of exposing to sunlight, we even see people who are working under the sun. Even nowadays, we see even farmers who are morning till evening under the sun in a place like south of India, where it is fully sunny. It's not like your country, where you have to wait for sun on certain days. It's not like that. It's always sunny here. Even these people have deficiencies, which mean that it is not just the source, it is the capability of the body to metabolize it, assimilate it, and we will fully focus it on Agni.
I have a question for you that follows from here. That is, I don't remember whether I've seen your video or somebody else's. They were talking about that after you have had a meal, in olden days, our folks, if you look at most of our ancestral home, they will have an easy chair over there, and people will be, it was your video, that is, people will be relaxing over there. They are not really deep sleep or something. It is like a half asleep kind of a nap kind of thing. And my intuitive sense is that is a significant component that allows for absorption of vitamin D, where in all the other elements you said are also important, that must be there. That is, you have mindful eating and eating the right quantity and the right combination, all of that. But that last part, where after a big meal, taking the time to let the food digest, whereby you're not mentally active at that time, that I think is very important for vitamin D. This is only my intuition speaking. I have no scientific validation. So, any thoughts from that perspective?
Yeah, I'll add some little nuance to this, because taking a nap after food, if we try to understand this napping, there are a lot of details into it. There are various seasons, as we all know. Hemanta, Shishira, Vasanta, Grishma, Varsha, Sharad. It is divided into 6 seasons. Hemanta, Shishira being winter. The other seasons follow: spring season, summer season, etc. There is only one season where Ayurveda advocates or allows a person to have a nap. Nap meaning lying down and sleeping. One can sleep during the day in summer season. Logically, summers have shorter nights and a longer day, so that gives a provision for a person, or an allowance for a person to sleep during the day. So this is the only season where there is an allowance, and there is one more season which is Vasanta Ritu, which is spring season, where one should never sleep during the night. Sleeping during the night can be disastrous in spring season. So in summer season, sleep during the day is welcome. You are allowed. Whereas in spring season, sleeping during the day can be disastrous. If you try to analyze this, you see this countries where there is a lot of heat predominance, there will be the tradition or a cultural habit of taking a siesta. That you can see Spain, or like north of Brazil, or wherever there is strong heat, or even in Goa during summers, they have a practice of having a time off where everyone has a nap and then goes for work, especially in summers. There is a specific terminology also to it. So Ayurveda tells that if a person is lying down and sleeping after a meal, there will be an increase of kapha dosha in the body, which will hamper the digestive process. However, if a person is reclining and sleeping, there is no increase of kapha dosha. So this reclining and sleeping is something that makes a magic, where one gets a positive benefit out of it. Whereas if the same person lies down and sleep, is going to end up with a negative effect, and all the more negative if he is going to sleep in spring season, which is Vasanta Ritu. So here, one can lie down after food. That is, after food, Ayurveda gives an allowance for a person to lie down, especially lying down on a left, but lying down but not sleeping. If one is sleeping, having a nap, then it is ideally in a reclined posture. So that connects to our tradition, our grandparents, our ancestors. They don't go to the bed. That will be more convenient. But still, this easy chair is dedicated for post-meal nap.
Okay, so Dr. Ananda, you want to contribute something here?
Yeah. Namaste, Vanakkam, Swagatam. A pleasure to be with all of you and to tune in and listen to Dr. Parthasarathi. We met some time ago in the UK, the yoga festival. And thanks to the organizers there, and was enjoying listening to you. I had some issues with my video, and that is why I had to go out and come back, and now it's fine. I think one of the key elements when we talk about food, because food takes up so much of our conversation, and you find thousands of books on it, thousands of videos on it, thousands of opinions on it. And the very fact that there is the presence of so much information and often contradicting each other means that there is no one size that fits all. I think this is a very important thing to realize, because Indian culture, all healing traditions in India never went for one size fits all. And that is why even when Dr. Parthasarathi was talking about the napping. What type of season is it allowed or justified? What type of season it is not? In what position, as our Dr. Rajan Narayanan also pointed out, is it a semi-reclining or is it full reclining or is it standing and sleeping? Many people can stand and sleep these days. You see them when you are traveling in airports and other places. Everything was taken down to the individualized need and given appropriate to that individual. So, though we can have general considerations, the prakriti of the individual, what type of guna-based mental perspectives are there in that individual. Someone who is sattvika will have a different type of need than someone who is tamasika. So, and again, what type of work, when we talk of modern diet, one issue we often forget is that it is not enough to just talk of calories. I think we have got stuck with this calorie concept. The one concept I like is the balanced diet. That is a very beautiful concept. We have to have adequate portions of all the important components. It makes very good logical sense. But what is missing in all of this is moderation. And I feel this is where the concept of mitahara, the concept of yuktahara are concepts that are vital for modern human beings. Because the moment someone says almonds are good for you, people start consuming kilos, pounds of almonds every day. And then you find the side effect of eating too much of almonds. Someone says green leafy vegetables are good. Okay, there is a limit to that also. What has happened is we have got into this idea that if a little bit is good, more of that will be better and maximum dose will be best. This is a very modern reductionist approach that today has come into yoga, it has come into Ayurveda, it's come into all Indian systems also. Initially, it was not part of the Indian system. We always stressed on the moderate path, the golden mean. We never looked at extreme. But today you have people who say either don't take calories at all or fill yourself with calories. Don't fast, fast all the time. Don't walk, walk all the time. Where is the moderation? So I think the message I wanted to share today, and always I want to get you all smiling. So that was just to get you all smiling. Smile is so important. But the key element is moderation. Whatever we do, when moderation is there, it is good. In Tamil, we say, alavukku meerinal amrutamum nanjagum. When you take more than the sufficient quantity of even nectar, amrita, it becomes vesha. As you said, that water after the meal, you explained that so beautifully. Even the thing that you need, even the thing that is good for you, needs to be taken in appropriate dose, at the appropriate time, in the appropriate way. Then it is all in tune with dharma. If not, it is adharma, and adharma will lead to dukkha, and that we cannot escape. So these are just a few thoughts I wanted to share. Such a pleasure with all of you.
Thank you so much. Sanjeevji, after you contribute, Sanjeevji is saying something, then I see there are a lot of hands up over here. So I will have them, a lot of people who put questions in the chat box. They can ask the question. And after that, Brahmaramba, I will request you to give your modern nutrition element before we go further. So Sanjeevji, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to share, in like how Dr. Anand was telling, one meal, food also depends on how much knowledgeable we are about ourselves, which place, situation, circumstance we have as an individual to decide what to eat, when to eat, how to eat. They say one meal a day is a yogi, 2 meals a day is a bogi, 3 meals a day is a rogi, 4 meals a day is a drohi, So it has to be decided by the individual. And also sitting down and eating will be very much beneficial because we eat or we can eat only 50% of our tummy's capacity. Sitting on a dining table, we eat 75%. And standing and eating, we eat 90%. And today, always we are in a eating and in a meeting. This is also very dangerous for the system because we don't chew properly, saliva doesn't mix properly, and there is so much of unhealthy sugar getting into the system. So I feel each and every one of us should get more and more knowledge, like Dr. Parthasarathi, all of that. And we have to individualize and decide how, when, where, what. Then it will be very beneficial as an individual. That's it. I just wanted to share.
Thank you. So all those who have put items in the chat box, if you have a question, please unmute yourself and speak up. So Satyapalji, I saw some your comment over there. Yeah, Sundar, go ahead. Arunji had put something. Go ahead, Sundar.
And thank you, Dr. Parthasarathi, and everyone in the panelists who shared their wisdom. The question while I was listening to Dr. Parthasarathi comment is around the fasting, right? How do I map that if someone is like we hear about this intermittent fasting, which is you consume meal only 8 hours a day or 7 hours a day. So that portion size that you is still applicable. I'm assuming it is, but I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
So I'd like to start where Dr. Anandaji had concluded. Though the Shastra is talking about 2-meal plan, in general, if you try to analyze the Ayurveda Shastra about the number of meals that one can consume, it's actually 2 meals a day. But that's not the end of the story, because in a season like Hemanta and Shishira, where a person's digestive capability, Hemanta and Shishira meaning a season like winters, where a person's digestive capability is strong, the Shastra tells, Pratareva bubukshitam, a person will be having a hunger early in the morning itself. So if you are having a hunger early in the morning, that explains that your digestive power is good, you are in a winter season, or you are in a country which is cold predominant. So when you are living in a country where there is a predominance of coldness, you will be seeing, forget about Ayurveda, forget about all the documentation of the Shastra. You can try to analyze a country like a cold country, a European country, or a country like USA. There will be a traditional cultural practice of having a early breakfast, that too a cold breakfast. There is not much of cooking done, it's just arranging, and there will be a sweet predominance in the breakfast. However, if you see a country which goes hot, the temperature of the country goes stronger and stronger, the breakfast culture either dims down. There are places like in Chennai, if you traditionally see, people will have only 2 meals, like 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, they'll have a lunch, they'll go in for a dinner or sometimes a snack in between. If you get closer to a warm country, you will be seeing hot predominant, heat predominant, spicy predominant breakfast culture. Not an early breakfast, late breakfast. So it's again, what a person requires is depending upon the person, his digestive capability, the region he lives in, the place he lives in. So we cannot generalize that Ayurveda talks about only 2 meals a day, so everyone should eat 2 meals a day, follow the 16:8 fasting. No. Ayurveda, actually speaking, this concept of 16:8 or an intermittent fasting gels with the principle or the concept of Ayurveda. But on the other way around, if you ask me, is 16:8 or intermittent fasting an explanation of Ayurveda that everyone can follow? I will tell no. It's purely depending upon the hunger of a person, digestibility of the person. In principle, a person who wakes up in the morning should not feel a ravaging hunger in the morning. If you are having a very strong hunger on waking up in the morning, that means that you have an issue. You have a problem. You'll have to handle your problem or diagnose your problem and do something about it. I hope I answered your question, or is there any part of which I should
No, you
touch?
did. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Avni, go ahead.
Namaste. So there are a lot of studies that state that eating a meal together as a family is more beneficial than, especially in the modern world, where they put stress on the fact that if you eat together, it gives children bonding as well as helps them develop values, self-esteem, etc. So, and these are credible studies from credible universities, etc. So my question is, why this confusion in this line of thinking? Which is the correct approach for us? We know Ayurveda, we know our forefathers what they thought, but the modern generation, it's very confusing, because we tell our children, you should not be talking. Their peers, the world tells them, sit together, talk. Which line of approach why is this confusion, and which line of approach is the correct one as such?
So I have to give two answers for this. One, what is the current approach and what is the current trend of these researchers? So my answer will be in two parts. First part, talking about the way in which Ayurveda suggests, there is a suggestion that we sit together with our loved people or our family members and have our meal. But that doesn't mean that we have to have a conversation. It should be a meal in between conversations. Sitting together, there's a specific reference about sitting together as a family and having food. But there, food is considered as the most supreme. This Agni is like Havan, the Agni that we have inside our stomach. The Jataragni, what we call as Jataragni, the Agni which is responsible for the digestion, can be compared to the Agni that we have in the Havan. And the food that has been going and getting in contact with that Agni is considered as the substances that is offered in the Havan. So that is why the shloka in the Bhagavad Gita also explains the same thing. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagno Brahmanahutam Brahmaivatena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. The Agni is Brahman, the food is Brahman, the whole process is Brahman. What is produced in the whole process is also, there is a supreme understanding. There is so much of reverence in the process. So eating in the middle of talking and socialization is not our culture. It is not mentioned in any aspect of our Shastra, because we have our Shastra, the advantage is we have cross-references. You see an aspect mentioned in Ayurveda, you find a cross-reference in yoga. You see the do's and don'ts of Ayurveda, you find everything as yamas and niyamas. So you find always cross-reference. If you find any cross-reference contradictory, we can have a validation that maybe my understanding is wrong. So our cross-reference should be within our Shastra's framework. So in that framework, we can come to a clear conclusion, because I showed you a cross-reference from Bhagavad Gita, that the most special or the auspicious thing there is food. There we cannot afford to have a conversation or make this process, this Havan, we cannot make this Havan a diluted process. Never we can do that. And our tradition is sit in a row and the food is served. We don't sit facing each other. Even if you go to an ashram, you cannot find tables, dining tables. Rather, there'll be tables placed aside. We sit in a row where there is no chance for communication, where there is no chance for socialization. Coming to the modern theories or the researchers, it's not a criticization, but I'm just bringing in what is the reality in terms of these researchers. Until 1970 or around 1970, we all know that there was so much of negativity that is being pumped on fats. Whatever fat you take is harmful. You should not take any type of fat, may it be ghee or coconut oil, whatever it is. That continued for a long time. But you know what is the current scenario of fat. You take coconut oil shot, ghee shots in the morning, You take coconut oil and ghee in your coffee, on your dessert. People are eating coconut oil and ghee and things like that as though there is no tomorrow. So much of indulgence of coconut oil. Until 2017, until a Japanese scholar Yoshinori came up with a research paper for which he got a Nobel Prize, which is autophagia. He got a Nobel Prize, and it was nothing new, but it is our concept of our Ekadashi and our 2-meal pattern. Until 2017, people used to have 5 meals a day, 6 meals a day, 7 meals a day. And that too, if a person is a diabetic, then there is no question about it. You have to take 6 meals a day, 7 meals a day. And all this is until 2017, this practice is research-based, data-driven, scientifically proven until 2017. Completely scientifically validated theories which made people to eat 7 meals a day, 8 meals a day also. But one new research came in, and that research has completely destroyed this. And the new theory is don't eat at all. If at all you want to eat, have 2 meals, or if possible, stay with 1 meal. Eat 6 meals a day to eat 1 meal a day. You see, there is a day and night difference. And both are scientifically validated, data-driven, proven theories. So we find that these modern theories are coming closer to Ayurveda. Until 2017, we have to struggle to inform people that, or to convince people that, please do not take frequent meals. We used to give examples. Consider you take a pressure cooker or a cooker, you add 1 handful of rice, it is cooking. You add another handful of rice when it is half cooked. You add another handful of rice when it is almost cooked. What will be the end product? Can you eat it? Can you digest it? We give this type of examples, etc., to make people understand that you cannot have these many meals until or before you digest your first meal. But no one was ready to listen except a bunch of few people who were convinced about the Shastra and the validity of the Shastra. But it's so easy for us now. If we tell, have a good gap between 2 meals, they'll, we know autophagia, we know 16:8, we know intermittent fasting. So every research is coming closer to our Shastras. So that way, we will very soon see that you will see a research that has been done in simultaneous multiple universities that eating without conversations or without socialization is enhancing the digestibility. We will definitely hear about these research very soon, not very far.
So, Ratna, go ahead.
Namaste, Dr. Parthasarathy. My question is regarding the liquid in the food. When we have rasam and sambar as part of the meal, you usually mix it with rice and eat. So when you mix it with rice, does it mean that we don't have liquid part then?
No, the liquid part is a liquid part. That is why one of the tenets of Ayurveda, our ahara should be drava, liquid. Our food should be liquid predominant. Our food should be ushna, it should be warm. Our food should be snigdha. There should be a fat content in the food. That fat content can be contributed by ghee or oil or whatever it is. It should be snigdha, ushna, drava. These are some simple tenets. Now people are talking about zero fat food. No, our food should be snigdha. It should be drava, meaning our food should be liquid in nature. All our traditional practices will contribute some kind of liquidiness to the food.
Okay.
So if our food is predominantly liquid, if you are taking a diluted buttermilk rice or a diluted rasam rice, then there is no requirement of an extra cup of water to compensate to fill up the third quadrant.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. That makes sense. I didn't know if you should drink milk, not mix with the rice. That's not the case then.
Yes, not.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Arunji, go ahead. Yeah, Sushmaji, you have to unmute.
Namaskar. Thank you so much. This is wonderful. So much knowledge being given. Dr. Parthasarathy, and I think Dr. Rajan brought this up, that in the olden days, our grandparents, after the meal, they would recline or lie down depending on the weather and everything. So I started thinking about it, but then the question I have is, only the men were allowed to do the reclining. Ladies never had time to do that. So how did that fit in the digestion of ladies' food? Because I
Okay.
know my mother or my grandmother, they have to either, after the meals are over, they have to wash clothes and whatever.
Okay. So before going into this point, I would give one more add-on to this. Day sleep. I told you that day sleep, sleeping during the day is not a general advice for everyone. It can be harmful. It is not a general advice. There are only few exceptions. So one of the exceptions is Bala and Vriddha. Bala is a kid, a child. Child is allowed to sleep during the day. Even immediately after having a food, a child can be put to sleep. It will not increase Kapadosha. The same is the case with the Vriddha. Vriddha is an old-aged person. So now the problem is we cannot define what an old age is. I cannot give you a number, tell that this is old age. So I'm not doing that. So this is one aspect to it, that if you think, or if anyone thinks you are in that group, which can be called age group, that can be called as an old age, then you have a provision to sleep during the day, which is not going to increase the kapha dosha. So irrespective of the season, you can have the provision, or you can enjoy the freedom or the liberty of sleeping during the day. Coming specific to the question, it is more like the man of the house had the liberty to sleep in front of or lie down in front of everyone. The women did not have the liberty to sleep or lie down or recline in the hall. Rather, she had to hide herself in a confined space. But I don't validate, or I don't remember, or I don't remember a reference where there is a reference where a women should not sleep, or if there is a tradition that women should not sleep during the day. I don't remember any references of such kind. And as a side add-on point, I would tell that a woman during her menstrual cycle is refrained from any activities. Don't go to the kitchen, don't do this, don't do this. You're not allowed to do this. Is actually, if you see the positive aspect to this, is don't do anything, instead take rest. So she gets that liberty for that 4 or 5 days just to rest. And the other flip side of the coin is don't touch this, don't touch this, don't go there. So we can take it either way. So the women, the tradition of the women is that she cannot lie down with some exposed parts, etc., etc. So she did not have the liberty to lie down in an easy chair, that is in a sit out or in a hall, but she could have definitely had the liberty to take that nap or lying down and resting, maybe inside one of the rooms, maybe.
So Jyoti, question?
Thank you.
Jyoti, go ahead.
Namaste, everyone. I have two questions. First one is inclusion of fruits as a part of meal, or can fruits be the meal itself? And second question is, during the midday meal, if I eat full, then I feel asleep and I'm not very active during my work, right? You have to get back to work. But if I eat half, then I feel craving for food. I have to eat something. So how do you balance that? Thank you.
So with regard to fruits, one reference that we can find in our Shastra is Adau Phalani Bunjita. That is, you can start your meal with a fruit with a specific reference to sweet fruits. The Shastra has given that examples of palasha, jackfruit, mangoes, etc., which are sweet predominant fruits, can be the first part of your meal. And also, with this, I can also give you an add-on point that Adau Madhuram Ashniyat. One has to start the meal with a sweet. Sweet cannot be the end of the meal. Sweet should be the beginning of the meal, because there is a stage in which the digestion happens, kapha stage of digestion, pitta stage of digestion, and then the vata stage of digestion. So to initiate the digestive process or to run the digestive process smoothly, sweet in the first contributes and sweet in the end is going to be creating a havoc in the digestive process. So sweet is always in the beginning. Adau palani bunjita, we have a reference. You can consume fruit at the first part of the meal. Next question, where are you from? And do you have fruits available to you round the clock? Number 3, is there a specific season where you have fruits? Definitely, there is an answer that yes, you don't get fruits round the clock. You might get fruits round the clock in the supermarket. Is fruits available around you in the farm around you or in the lands around you? Is a fruit available? If there is a fruit available, then you have a provision to take fruits. If you see the Shastra, it is only in summer season where the Shastra is in the summer season is Grishma Ritu, where we find a reference that one has to eat Drava Ahara, liquid food, Madhura Ahara, sweet in taste, Laghu, easy to digest, very easy to digest, and Snigdha, nourishing. So it's a very tricky combination. You need a light food. It should be sweet in taste. It should be liquidy in nature. It should be nourishing. It's a very tricky combination. Where do we go for such food combination? We get that food combination with the help of fruits that is available in nature. That is why when we reach summer, when there is such requirement developing in the body, which is requiring these 4 properties, the nature gives you fruits. So summer is a season where one can take fruits with good liberty. But if in USA, you will be getting, in winters, you will be getting fruits from Chile, South America, because it is summer there. And you get fruits available to you round the clock, all round the year. As a kid, I remember, not just in USA, I can tell even in India, as a kid, I remember waiting in the month of April to see and relish these mangoes. But my son can have mangoes 365 days, it is available in the supermarket. So this concept of seasonal availability, regional availability is gone, which has created a big problem. So if it is a season, you have the complete freedom to take a fruit as a part of your meal, preferably if it is a sweet fruit in the beginning of the meal. If not, keep fruit separate it can be an individual meal by itself. It can be a meal by itself. Even breakfast can be a meal. I hope the second part of your question is eating half stomach and full stomach. I think you have to do something in between that. And maybe there can be some small issues, some simple digestive issues, Agni-related issues, which is making you feel sleepy after a decent food. The tamas dominates after food, or the kapadosha dominates after food in the first part. So there can be some simple digestive disturbances. On correcting that, this should be gone is what I feel.
Thank you so much.
Amit Gupta, go ahead.
So I have a 2-part question too. The first one is about like exercise. So I used to do a lot of cardio in gym and like run on the treadmill for 3 miles and do a lot of walking and stuff like that. So now I feel that is not possible because of the back issue and the pain in the knees and stuff like that. So do you think it is a good idea to do like muscle buildup instead of cardio? And
Amit, let me stop you over here.
okay.
This is not specific to the nutrition aspect he is talking about, right?
I mean, my second part is nutrition related, but I can go, but can I go for the second one?
Go ahead.
Okay. So, like he said earlier that, you know, we eat 6 times, 7 times before, and 2017, we have something like you have to eat once or twice. And later on, we will have some study that will say that we eat minimum and do more fasting. So is that the right way, right approach, that we do lot of fasting and eat minimum? I mean, we should eat, but should we eat like minimum, and it should have fat and liquid and all the contents? So I just want your 2 cents.
Part of this, actually, I have answered. Part of this question, I have answered that even if the concept of intermittent fasting gels with Ayurveda, it's not a standard advice for everyone.
Okay.
It has to be specific. And how much to eat, how to eat, what to eat, etc. There are a lot of associated elements. We cannot give one standard prescription that one can eat this much quantity and one should eat this food and this way. We cannot give a standard prescription of what one should eat, how much one should eat, when should eat, who should eat. What you can eat in the morning, the same food you cannot eat in the evening. There are a lot of details and detailing and intricacies into it. So we cannot give a general prescription or a standard advice that, okay, this should be the quantity, etc. If at all we tell about any standard aspects, they are principles, not advices. For example, when we tell the food should be drava, food should be snigdha, and food should be laghu, it is a principle, it's a concept. So that concept also has a lot of freedom to have some plus and minus, some adjustments. But what we can tell is the Shastra's importance or the Shastra's emphasis is Anuyayat Pratipatam Sarva Dharmeshu Madhyamam. In all aspects of life, there should be a moderation. Madhyamam. There should be a moderate path. Eat less, no. Eat more, no. There should be moderation. Do less, more. Do more, no. Moderation. Moderation is the key. Sarva Dharmeshu Madhyamam.
So, Sanjeev ji, go ahead, and we'll answer your other question later, Amit. Okay, Sanjeev ji, go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you. I just wanted to share, for Onam, we have about 26 items. So we say we start with the rice and ghee, the dal, and we go like a process, then sambar, then rasam, and then we have the payasam coming, And I always felt whenever we have the food, there's a tendency of the people to eat sweet after that. Why is that happening in the, that's and we say we need 6 rasas to make a healthy blood. Astringent, pungent, all these bitter, salty. So I just want your highlights on that.
Yes. So the Shastra gives a clear order in which one has to consume a food. Rather, we can find a reference in Ashtanga Hridaya, the order in which the food has to be served, in which direction which food has to be served. So to that precision we have. If we trace back our tradition, the sweet, that is the payasam that is served, is to be consumed in the beginning. Payasam is the first thing that will be consumed. Before going to that point, I would like to highlight one aspect that when we tell that our food should start with Madhura, the food should start with Madhura, then comes Amla, the end part is Kashaya Kadu Tikta. The last part of the meal is Kashaya Kadu Tikta. If we trace this order in our day-to-day meal in a lunch, for example, if we take our lunch as an example, the Madhura in the beginning is contributed predominantly by rice. Rice is a Madhura Rasa Dravya. Rice is a substance which has Madhura Rasa or sweet taste, including wheat, also Madhura Rasa, sweet in taste. So the Madhura predominance, there is a modern concept of balanced meal. If we try to understand what is the concept of balanced meal from an Ayurveda perspective, the answer is Shadrasam Madhura Prayam. There should be all 6 tastes, but Madhura Prayam, there should be a predominance of Madhura Rasa. So what contributes to the predominance of Madhura Rasa? If we analyze, it is rice. Rice component or wheat component, which contributes to the Madhura Rasa. If we see the order in which we consume the meal, let's forget about payasam, we'll bring it at the last for now. Not the Onam meal, on a day-to-day meal, if we go to a restaurant or if we have a normal day's meal, first it will be rice, it will be parupu, it will be non-spicy. It will be, I'm talking about a traditional South Indian meal. It will be a non-spicy. There is no add-ons to it. It's salt and parupu, dal. It will be the first thing. Then comes sambar.
Yes.
Then comes rasam. And then comes buttermilk. If you see this order, the non-spicy or a bland parupu or the dal with the rice contributes the first stage of digestion, madhura, vipaka. We call it as vipaka, visheshapaka, vipaka. Contributes to the first stage of digestion, that is madhura. Sambar, traditionally, there is always a tinge of sweetness added to sambar. Sambar is not a very spicy substance. Even if we trace back historically, sambar is added with jaggery. There is a lot of sweet-based substances like the vegetable that we add contributes some sweetishness to it. Then comes the puli kolambu or the more kolambu or vatta kolambu, etc., which is sour in taste. Then comes rasam, which is a combination of all 6 tastes. Shad rasam, and so it is called as rasam. There is all 6 tastes. It's a good combination where there will be tomato, there will be jaggery, this all together, all tastes will be inherently present in rasam. End of the meal will be buttermilk, which is contributing to the tikta and kashaya rasa. The astringent taste is contributed by the buttermilk, and also the sour, mild sour taste will be there. And we take little bit of pickle along with that end, which contributes to the katu rasa also. So the sequence is perfectly matched, perfectly practiced on a day-to-day basis in our order of taking food. But when there comes a sweet item, if there is a sweet item in our meal, if we go and sit in maybe in Kerala, it is always served first and then we come and sit for the meal. But in Tamil Nadu, it will be an empty plate and the serving will start on the empty plate. I don't know if I'm right with Kerala's method of serving or not. In the feast I have attended, it is pre-served. At least few of the items are pre-served and we go and join the leaf. In Tamil Nadu style, when we sit, the first item that will be reaching our plate will be a sweet. Traditionally, even in Kerala, if we try to get back to our ancestors, they will be definitely mentioning that the first item that is being consumed in a Onam Sadhya or any feast will be a sweet. In south of Tamil Nadu, in Tirunelveli side, there will be 3 payasams, like Kerala, 2 payasams, there will be 3 payasams. If they check, the payasam will be the first thing served on the leaf. They will finish all the 3 payasams and then go to the male meal. If they change the order of the payasam, there will be a big fight in the marriage hall. So what happens is, when we consume sweet first, sweet contributes a lot of gurutva, heaviness. It will restrict or it will limit our capability to enjoy the other full meal. We cannot enjoy the full meal when we start the meal with a payasam. We will feel full by the halfway through, we will feel full and we will feel bad. Oh, I came for a feast. I could not complete the full serving that is on my leaf. So we trick our system or our intellect or internal intelligence or a collective wisdom by just pushing this payasam to the end so that I'm comfortably finishing the whole sadhya or the whole feast and then reserving a small space for payasam and then relishing the payasam. And the second part of the question, people who tell that, there are quite a few people who tell that I have a sweet tooth, I need something sweet in the end of the meal. We can definitely tell that they have some kind of micronutrient deficiency. The best thing that we have seen practically working in such situations is asking them to start the meal with a small amount of jaggery mixed with ghee. Just one small, maybe half a teaspoon of jaggery with ghee when they eat and then continue the meal. Over a period of time, we have noticed that people come out of this habit of wanting a sweet. I would call 50% it is a habit. It is the tongue is one of the naughty sense organs, naughty karma. It's a karmendriya and jnanendriya together, and both or naughty. We cannot control our tongue either in speech or in taste. So tongue is always a naughty karmendriya and a jnanendriya. So 50% of the cases, it will be the comfort of sweetness at the end of the meal, and 50% it will be a micronutrient deficiency. If it is a habit, then over a period of time, it actually goes off. If it is a micronutrient deficiency, then starting with a small piece of jaggery and ghee, we have found terrific differences, because we advocate this on a very strong basis that you should not end your meal, even to our patients and in all our all the lectures and things. We make it very particular that we should not end the meal with a sweet, rather start the meal with a sweet. And this does not give a provision or a free allowance to everyone that, okay, we can start the meal with a sweet, so every day I will have a small piece of dessert. No. Start the meal with a sweet. Rice is taking care of it. Rice, sambar and stuff is taking care of it. If at all there is a sweet item in our meal, preferably let it be the first part of the meal. I hope I have answered this question, Ji.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So
only one thing I have understood: if we manage one organ in our body, that is the mouth, eating and talking, we are in a safe hand.
So Sanjeev ji and Dr. Parthasarathi, the thing is, you see, Dr. Parthasarathi in the opening, if you saw the slide over there, the last item he had mentioned there was upayokta. That is, the person who consumes is the important person. Somewhere I'm getting feedback. I'm going to mute you, Sanjeev ji. Okay, it was coming from Sanjeev ji. That's fine. I've muted you. So the thing is, basically, the final end of all of this is, if you have to ask so many questions, you're not a yogi. Because if you're a yogi, your inner senses are guiding you what you should be eating. And in fact, there is no rule after that. Because your inner eye, this thing is guiding you internally. And based upon your nutrition need, one day you will feel like something, another day you may not feel something. And in fact, to mentally and logically thinking this has the right nutrition and I have to eat, that is not the nature's way of eating. The nature's way of eating is automatically inside it is telling you this is right for you. My mother is 94 years old and she eats 3 to 4 times a day, but all the time it is small quantity. In fact, after about 4 or 5 hours after she has gotten up, she will feel hungry. She will have a breakfast. And once she has had breakfast, she needs at least 4 hours before she is ready for lunch. And then after that, in the early evening hours, she may feel hungry. In case she will have a very small snack like a biscuit or something like that, along with a cup of tea or coffee or something. And then later in the evening, she will have a dosa or an idli or whatever this thing. So this happens. And my mother eating 4 times, like 3 or 4 times a day. If the doctor does the blood chemistry, she says, she tells my mother, you look like a 25-year-old person. All the blood chemistry is perfectly normal. There is no excess fat, nothing. And of course, in every meal in the morning when she likes to have a toast, she will have ghee on the toast. And without ghee, she won't eat it. And of course, even in the midday meal when she's having lunch, there is ghee in the food. And of course, everything, you see, what happens is, and my mother and my sister will tell my mother, oh, that is not good. This is more nutritive. You'll have it. My mother will tell her, that is not tasty for me. I won't have it. In fact, what it is my mother is very clear in saying that, you know, what you don't like to eat will not get digested in you. So only what is appealing and falls within, you eat. So the thing is, you see, the key element among the 8 items that item factors responsible for proper food digestion, that is wholesome to you, the most key element to me is the upayokta, the last person, who the person is, and if the person is yogically connected, which means there is internal harmony. You have the quietness within you to sense what is right for you. So if you have to ask so many questions as people have been asking, all of you are not yogis at all. Okay? So the thing is, you see, that's the place from where I will point out rules are there only for people who are unable to sense within themselves what is right. If you can sense within yourself what is right, you will find it will automatically guide you. And everything else that Dr. Parsardi says about how to begin eating and all of these, in fact, when somebody asked the question, people say you should eat with a sweet. And then, we are beginning with rice. Parsardi explained rice itself has sweetness in it. Right? So what happens is just follow the inner guidance. When you have the yogic this thing, it'll all fall into place. That is my thought over here. I wanted to give a chance for Brahmaramba to speak about this thing, but I don't want to hold Sundar back. You have the last question. Ask your question, and then we'll go to Brahmaramba.
Clearly called out. I'm not a yogi yet. Thank you, Dr. Narayan. The one question that got when we were talking about is that is this practice I've been doing is after taking a hot coffee after a meal, especially lunch. Is that this is something I picked up to avoid the dessert craving? How do you see, because that's been practiced, in mostly when you go to restaurants, Italian food, always they end with the cappuccino or any of those things. So,
okay. So just before giving this answer, one golden point that we see when it comes to food is like jirne hitam mitam chadyat. Jirne, after digesting the previous meal, hitam, which is conducive to you, mitam in a right quantity. I would tell the success of Rajanji's mother's health is jirne hitam mitam, because he told all these three. She will eat when she's hungry. Hitam, what is suitable for her. Mitam in a right quantity, never overeating. So jirne hitam mitam chadyat is the golden rule given in Dinacharya. So coming to your question, coffee has its own negative traits to a certain extent. I would not call everything as a negative trait. But again, what we call as a coffee is a big question. Is it with milk, with sugar or not? There are a lot of ifs and buts into it. But if you see coffee as something very simple, not very strong, if you take a strong coffee, it is going to hinder the digestive process. If you are ending your meal with buttermilk and then taking a coffee, then there is a big conflict. If it is with milk, then milk and saltiness should not go together. It is a viruddha. So having a salty meal ending with a coffee with milk, again, it's a problem. If it is not a milk coffee, if it is a diluted one, and if you are not ending your meal with buttermilk, if you're not adding sugar into the coffee, then a small quantity of coffee can contribute positively. But it has to cross these many barriers to get a positive go signal. I hope. But
yeah,
in principle, having a coffee at the end of the meal, from our perspective of our type of a meal, I don't think it will be a good idea. But I cannot conclusively tell because there are a lot of factors, as I told you.
So, Brahmaramba, you have heard all this discussion over here. From a modern nutrition point of view, would you like to share anything further?
Sure. Let me share a couple of slides.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, I feel like we've really learned a lot of things today. And Dr. Parsardiji, you've really talked very well about that moderation. It kind of sticks in my mind about that eating popcorn all along, watching the movie and then thinking about I haven't had anything and reaching for something else, right? You're really not putting your mind into it. So I also love your jirne hitam mitam concept. Absolutely. So what I like to do is there's a difference between what we should be doing and what we are doing, right? I mean, you told us all the good things what we should be doing, and also staying where we are, we see a lot of things around. There are lots of influences, and what's happening around, us in the nutrition area, what you're looking, what you're listening when you type something into Google. So I thought I'd give you a little bit of a perspective on healthy eating, just a few slides, and all the messages are well connected. So where we are, basically USDA does a lot of guidance on, produces dietary guidelines and provides us guidance on, what and how we should be eating, and gives us models. And FDA, it does lots of nutrition regulation sort of things and provides us guidance on nutrition facts labels. And NIH, which is National Institutes of Health, does a lot of nutrition research. So I know I don't have time to talk all about those. So I thought I'll condense my messages into a couple of quick things. One is eating healthy foods from all the food groups. And also, obviously, when we do that, we do want to incorporate all our favorite cultural and foods and traditions. It's really nice to hear about how we do it in, different states, and what we eat first, and how does it get, connected with digestion. So, and then the third one is reading some nutrition facts labels. No matter what we do, and some of us do tend to get, buy certain things outside, and what are some things we need to look for. So this is a myplate.gov. You can find this. This is sort of a model for us to, how we eat. I don't know. I don't want to say we should eat. It provides us some guidance about how we organize our eating. So there are 3 principles: balance, variety, and moderation. We've heard a lot about moderation today already. This is really telling us, basically, if you take your plate and make sure you have your fruits and vegetables, fill half of it with fruits and vegetables, and then the rest of on the right side, and your grains, which is your rice or roti or millets or whatever you do, and then your protein, and then your dairy on the other side. So what this is telling us really is, make sure you have foods in a balance, which is like they're giving you some guidance here. And variety from each of these food groups is really important, because your fruits and vegetables, because different. Dr. Parthasarathy opened with the superfoods, and eating that moringa, eating those berries, and eating that pomegranate. So it's just not one thing that has a lot of it, and make sure you get variety from each of these food groups. And then so that's variety. And moderation, obviously we've heard a lot about that. So this plate really kind of produced as a one quick message from the dietary guidelines document, and this is what it is. So there's a lot more information, so you can, if you're interested, you can find more on this. And also a little bit on this, focusing on healthy, as I said, foods and beverages from all the food groups. We talked about variety, amount, and nutrition. Fill half of your plate with fruits and vegetables, which is typically, if you are looking at the calorie content, fruits and vegetables have a lot less and easily get digested and have a lot less trouble. So eat more of those, and they have a lot more nutrients too. And then, of course, with the proteins, and making leaner choices, and mostly if you are a vegetarian, eating dry beans, and gives you lots of protein. And then, of course, whole grains. This is really interesting, because in our olden days, we've always had whole grains anyway, and now we're really looking at these processed foods. So they're giving us the message again to see, at least take half of them from the whole grains. And then dairy, if you do choose dairy, and make sure you choose the low fat, because there's a lot of saturated fat is coming from there. And then the next one I wanted to share is, the nutrition facts labels. Often enough, we tend to, buy a lot of foods from outside. And if we do that and take a look at the labels, and, typically, so I see many people saying that, okay, well, they told us that I can eat this much, so I can eat the whole thing. It's really that the label is really telling you the number of servings for the container, as well as the nutrition information per one serving. So I just wanted to emphasize that, this is whatever they put it is what people typically eat. It's not telling you what you should be eating. So be aware of that. And then of course it's given in two columns. What is it per serving and what is it per the entire container? And also the daily value on the last column is basically, it is adding up to, a total amount of the that particular nutrient that we need. And how is this particular product contributing to that? So if you were to say on the how much of the nutrient in a serving of the food contributes to total daily, right? As I said, it helps to determine the serving whether the food is high or low in the nutrient value. And then one very quick message is the daily value. If it says on the right side 5% or less is considered low, 20% or more is considered high, for whatever your practical purposes. And when you look at it, both saturated fat, that's that fat, solid fat, and trans fat, sodium, and added sugars. I know there's a lot of talk about added sugars, and so all of them should be, it's better to get less of those. And then some of those vitamins and minerals, dietary fiber, vitamin D, calcium, iron, those are things that are put on the label. That's not the only thing. It's good to get more of those. And then I think I saw a question earlier about, well, we used to eat in a certain way in India and we eat here, and what is the difference between, and the only thing that I want to say is the processed foods. Try to stay away from the processed foods. So right below the label, you'll see the ingredient label, which will tell you about, what is this particular food made of, and it's always written in the descending order. So whatever is the first thing, the product has a more of it, and it goes down. So make sure you find foods that have less of that list, so it's more simple. And then I have some resources for you if you want to check. So my plate that I shared, and National Institute of Aging does a lot of research. And then obviously, we're not talking about the supplements, but I thought I'd just put a link here also about what are some things we do, or not some resources there for you. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ramaramba. And as you have seen over there, you can stop sharing. As you have seen over there, what Brahmaramba has presented for you is all the people who don't cook at home, so they have to read the labels over there. So the thing is, you see, if you're cooking at home and you're doing all the relevant spices that you do traditionally, and you are fitting within what the needs, and you're aware of your system within, then in which case everything is falling into place over there. So this kind of guidance from Brahmaramba is necessary for people, because in the current day culture, a lot of people have stopped cooking. And in fact, what happens is, when I was in California, and Shobha remembers this, somebody wanted to take me out for a lunch and this thing. So I said, it is such a punishment. I rather eat home cooked food rather than going out to eat outside. And I told Shobha, Shobha was in charge of all my scheduling. And so I told her, tell her that we are too busy, we cannot come for lunch. And so that person basically, said, okay, we'll go out for breakfast somewhere. So I told her, well, if we go out to breakfast, we don't have to really eat something. We'll have a cup of tea or coffee and we'll end with that. And then, of course, what happened was we became so busy, we said, we have to even cancel the breakfast, and we were very happy. So the key part is that once we are in sync with what we are doing, we quickly realize that there is nothing better than home cooked, slow food, and you eat what you want, as opposed to, somebody giving out or telling you and cooked elsewhere. So this kind of guidance, where you can feel your inner guidance telling you what you need, and is a much better way. And however, the kind of nutritive aspects and what Brahmaramba presented becomes more relevant for the culture where people want to go out to eat, and then get packaged foods, ready food to just open the packet and eat, that kind of thing.
Narayanan, can I add something?
Yes.
I just want to add that it is not just, eating out, but if you buy certain things, like for example, even your milk, so those there also you could check some of those labels.
Absolutely, I agree
yeah,
with you. And in
yeah.
fact, after looking at the label, many of us may stop buying many things.
I just say that there's a difference between what we should be doing and what we are doing, right? So it's good to be
Yes.
aware of. Yeah.
Yes. Now, Amit Gupta, are you still there? There was one. Yes, you are still there. You had that question about whether you should, if your joints are giving way or whatever, and you are unable to do cardio like before. So, what should you be doing, kind of thing, right, Amit?
Yes, yes.
Okay. The answer for you is the key about moderation in everything is something Dr. Parsardi mentioned, Dr. Ananda mentioned. The key part is we say we have to do everything within our ability. And we always say being yogic is about the idea of doing within your capacity. Yoga is about engaging life in a way with mild effort. Life is not about a workout. Many people think in terms of a workout. So when you're looking at cardiovascular exercising as a workout, you have gone completely away from yoga. So what happens is, for a person who is a 90-year-old, if they are walking up and down for 20 minutes in a very gentle way, they have done their exercising. When they are sitting and doing Bhastrika or Kapalabhati, they have done their exercising. From a modern perspective, when they talk about cardio workout, there are two elements to it. One element to it is, of course, increasing the heart rate, so that there is you're getting more, you're making the heart be of beating at a higher rate, and as well as in the restful rate, so there is more variance and resilience built in the heart. But there is another element, it is the breathing element. And in fact, if you sit and do Kapalbhati and Bhastrika Pranayam, you will find a lot of the cardiorespiratory benefits of cardiovascular exercising you will get. But at the same time, you cannot just be sitting like that. You need mobility for your joints. So you don't have to do like the regular cardio exercising. A little bit of walking, stretching for the joints and all of that is also needed. But again, as long as you keep the yogic rule that it is about stimulation and not about a workout, and at the same time focus on the pranayama element, that good deep breathing is important, you should be able to manage. And again, when I looked at your face over there, you do look like you have probably more weight in your body, which means there is some imbalance where you're doing excessively, and the fad about, as Dr. Parsadi mentioned, overdoing things of what people say are good and things like that. That doesn't necessarily help. In fact, I will mention one thing that I have noticed, and I would like Dr. Parsardi to comment, is when people eat certain foods, if the food is suited for them, then in which case I say that the following rules apply. First is the bowel movement should be clean and happening easily, and the bowel movement should not smell very strongly. And the second element is bowel movement being appropriate. Second is there should be no smell from the person after they have eaten the food. If the breath has smell coming out of it, that food was not suited for them. The third element is the person should feel light and happy, not heavy. If people are feeling heavy and lethargic after a meal, then in which case probably there are elements in the food that were probably not as appropriate for them. And the last element is the sweat of the person should not smell. It should not have a very strong smell. This element about breath, there are people who I know who think garlic is good for health, and they eat garlic and then they smell awful, which means the garlic is not getting assimilated in the system. It is getting thrown out of the body in the smell. Dr. Parsadi, would you like to comment on that?
Yes, I can add a small point on this. Yeah, I'm with regard to the first point. Yes, one should have a normal bowel evacuation the next day, and the bowel evacuation ideally should be well formed. With regard to the smell of the bowel evacuated material and the smell of the person after food or the smell in the sweat, etc. When we see various people with various compositions like Vata dominant person, Pitta dominant person, etc. A Pitta dominant person always has a tendency to have a smell in his sweat. The Puti Gandha is a natural trait of the person. So even if a food is well suited for him, this Pitta dominant person can have a reasonable amount of foul smell in his sweat. But with regard to breath, but ideally breath having a smell of the food and the burp having the smell of the food, etc., is a sign of a non-digested or improperly digested material. The food did not suit him. One of the important markers is Shuddha Udgara. Shuddha Udgara is a clean burp. After a complete and proper digestion of an ideal Hita Ahara, suitable food, the person will have a clean burp, Shuddha Udgara, where there is no smell of food, where there is no taste of food, where there is no other material coming out. And lightness, of course, lightness is a very important point. Sense of lightness, feeling lightness after the meal and throughout the day, even the next day.
Thank you so much. So we are coming close towards our end. We have 13 minutes to go. If there are any further questions, we can answer them. Otherwise, I'll make a quick summary closure of all the excellent points that have come across over here.
I will just want to add. So I try to eat less, like, like I eat like 4 chapati, then I try to eat like 3, and sometime I try 2. Then I won't get sleep during night time. Then I will get up at 10 and again eat. So it's very difficult to reduce the portion, but I'm work in progress. So I'm trying, but yeah, go ahead.
And the idea is that what it is when we are hungry, we have to eat. But there is another element to it. The other element is you train yourself and get used to something, and then the body wants it. Okay? So what happens is, if you're eating, don't worry about the chapatis that you're thinking about. More important, take more liquid in the diet along with that meal. And you may find, and don't take just water. Take that liquid, like, whether it is dal or, the gravy along with your vegetable and all of those. And and of course, the other part of it is, add a little bit of ghee and things into the food. Don't think that there's going to be fat that is going to add in. And what is going to happen is, if you eat it according to the system that Dr. Parthasarathy mentioned, the satiety will come faster. And only the lack of satiety happens when the processing and how the person eats is not proper. So think about how you're eating. Are you watching television? Are you eating? Are you talking to people that you're eating? Or your full focus is on the food? All of those elements matter in how it works, how it gets taken in.
Got it.
Right? So I recommend for you, what you should do is you should do slow walking meditation twice a day for 20 to 40 minutes. When I say walking meditation is that as you're slowly, you're not hurrying in the walk, gentle walk. Very slowly, you with 2 breaths, you take 2 strides. With inhalation, take 2 strides, and with exhalation, take 4 strides. So this way, what happens is, as you inhale and exhale and slowly keep walking with your awareness in the breath, slowly your mind-body integration and spiritual integration begins to come. You become more aware. And as I saw in the chat box, Brahmaramba has recommended that you should take more protein, in which case, it'll help you to prevent that hunger from coming on, and whatever protein is not used will leave the body. So that recommendation also came there, right?
Right.
Okay, Shobha, go ahead, and Avni. Shobha.
Just a suggestion for Amit ji.
So there is in Ayurveda, there's a recommendation of when to exercise also. So Dr. I did this course with Dr. Parsati. So he said you have to exercise during the kapha period, that is in the morning time, heavy exercise only in the morning time. Evening time, it should be only a light exercise. So that can be another topic some other time. So just a recommendation. Maybe that's why you are not getting sleep also. So yeah, just a quick suggestion.
Thank you, Sovaji.
Quick question. Yeah, quick question for Dr. Parthasarathi. Is it true that you should have water sitting down and milk products standing up? If it is, what's the logic behind it?
Yeah, water, drinking water should also be considered as food. There is no direct reference in Ayurveda which mentions that one has to sit and drink water. There's no direct reference. But as we find a reference that we have to sit and eat, that is also applicable for water. And having said that, there is no reference that one should drink milk or something in a standing posture. There is no reference for that as well.
Thank you. Okay.
So we are coming towards the, go ahead, Anita. You have to unmute.
My question is about lactose intolerance. So whenever I drink milk or even consume yogurt, I feel very gassy. So what is the alternative for that? I don't drink milk, like plain milk, just even in adding in tea or something, you know, that.
Can I answer that, Rajan?
Yeah, anybody can answer. Actually, the answer is if something is not suited for you, you shouldn't be having it. So anyway, go ahead.
But I want to have little yogurt, so.
Well, I think Rajan said correct. If it's not agreeing with you, it's not a good idea. But lactose intolerance is something, especially if you get it at a later stage in life. Yogurt is a little bit better tolerated than milk. And, you know, maybe you could stop for some time and try other options like your soy or almond milk and other things, and then come back to it. So when you give some time to body, then it'll adjust and you should be able to try it. But definitely if you have a lot of lactose intolerance, I'd say stay away from it. And also there's in CVS you find some substances like to cut down gas. If you take that, put a little bit of that powder and take it, and it'll also help. But I am more with Rajan on the sense that if it is not agreeing, try to stay away from it and give some time and come back to it. Yogurt, you should be able to.
Yeah, buttermilk agrees with me fine, but yogurt, I have to cut down. Yes,
I'd say stick to buttermilk then.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Arunji, go ahead. We are in the last segment. So we are, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this lactose intolerance. Scientifically, we have learned there is a very large number of Indian population which has a lactose intolerance because of the absence of an enzyme in the body. So I would recommend take a lactate milk, which is free of lactate. So you use it. My wife does, Sushma does it. She was not taking a milk, but doctor said, no, milk is a very good food to eat. And so now she takes a lactose-free milk. If you can try it, that's a very good. You will see 2% or 1% lactose-free milk. You would see there is no gas formations with that.
Thank you. Actually, with respect to milk, the modern, all of you know about the A2, A1 cows, right? So the A1 cows that we have these days, they have a protein there called casein, which is toxic for a lot of people. It creates inflammation in the digestive tract. So the thing is, what I have found is that anything made from grass-fed buffalo milk from India does not have that problem. So whereas anything that is made from regular cow's milk have a problem. So, but I don't know where you'll find the grass-fed buffalo milk, but then whatever sweets we buy, they are made out of grass-fed buffalo milk that has come from India, and we find they're perfectly in great, work well. Okay, so coming to the closure over here, I first want to thank Dr. Parthasarathy for taking so much time to to be over here and to explain so much to all of you. And thank you again, and we hope we'll catch up with you again sometime. But the points that he has made are very, very critical. The critical aspect is it is not only what the food you eat according to your nature, but how the food is processed and what all combinations it goes with, and the quantity that you eat, the proportion of the food, the water, and the space you leave in the stomach. You eat to the point of satiety and not really eat beyond. The idea of moderation and the idea of the season, where you are, and all of these things, and the rules related to how you eat, the sequence of things, all of that he mentioned. But the most important of it, that is the last point which was there on his list, is you as a person needs to understand who you are and what suits you. And this basically is the summary statement of the 8 points that Dr. Parthasarathy mentioned. It covers everything. So with that, we have 3 minutes to go. And again, Dr. Parthasarathy, thank you very much. Would you like to add anything as a final message for everyone?
Thank you so much. And nothing in specific. It was a very nice session with varied discussions and varied doubts and interest. People who have this open vision to understand and learn more. Thanks for this opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you again. And any kind of adage people mention, like 1 meal yogi, 2 meals bogi, 3 meals rogi, and all of that, that's all nonsense. You have to eat according to what is right for you. Be aware of yourself. That is the yogic nature. Okay? Namaste, and see you all next